Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm April Knight in for Sandra Gumansing. Topping our newscast, the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs hosted a town hall meeting with the support of Senator Nareda O'Reilly on Thursday. That's on St. Croix. Residents have been questioning the price at the pump for gas that they think haven't dipped far enough. News 2's Erica Parsons has more.
Local residents got a chance to ask questions and air their views to officials from Labor and Licensing and Consumer Affairs.
I wanted to hear what DLCA going to do about the gouging of the gas price, where all gas station price drop at the same time, all gas station price rise at the same time, the high cost of food in the Virgin Islands.
A hot topic, the high price of gas at the pump on St. Croix when prices have been falling nationally.
What were you hearing here from people as far as gas prices?
Frustration, justified frustration. I've been told by the retailers that their prices are dependent on transportation costs and electricity costs, which are a function of oil prices. So I fully expect that as oil prices decrease, we see that translated at the consumer and at the pump.
Licensing Commissioner Attorney Devin Carrington said they're mandated by law to educate the public, and he wanted to make sure residents know just what his agency can and cannot do.
We do license businesses and regulate businesses. What we don't do, all right, we don't do price controls. We don't regulate doctors. We don't regulate airlines. Those industries are regulated by other agencies of the Virgin Islands government.
Only one retail gas station owner was present, and he refuted the idea that St. Croix station owners are in collusion and making $1 a gallon. He demonstrated that prices at St. Croix pumps have dropped more than $1 in the last year and outlined all the associated costs owners have to pay.
It was made clear that DLCA can't do nothing basically about the people them gouging us high food prices, gasoline setting.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Officials from the Department of Labor were also present to answer questions about the economy and unemployment. Well, election officials continue to iron out wrinkles that could make the 2016 elections a bit rougher. They had scheduled a joint board meeting for Friday, but the St. Croix board voted not to attend. They're saying these meetings should be rotated between districts. Without the St. Croix members, here's what happened during the scheduled meeting today. St. Croix election board members voted not to attend the joint board meeting on St. Thomas on Friday, but that didn't stop St. Thomas members from discussing election matters. Joint board chairman Arturo Wallington adjourned the meeting early on because of lack of quorum, but the members present tackled election topics informally, including the new express vote, the universal voting machine that's being considered to replace the auto mark.
You have to give prompts. The auto mark prompts you by voice. This shows you electronically what you're doing. And so you can just do it without having to have the prompts as the automats have.
Some St. Thomas board members condemned St. Croix's absence, which one member says effectively handcuffs them from moving forward, such as in finding a deputy election supervisor for the St. Thomas-St. John district.
The members from St. Croix should also have respected the fact that a meeting was called and they should be here.
Well,
this is too much information to give just again to the St. Thomas-St. John district board members. We are always at a knowledge advantage over St. Croix because we show up when we're supposed to receive the information and knowledge.
The St. Thomas-St. John board is scheduled to hold a district meeting next week. The next joint election board meeting is slated for December, but election officials hope a special meeting could be arranged before then. Meanwhile, Senator Kenneth Gittens, chairman of the Senate's Rules and Judiciary Committee, said that the committee is preparing to host another working session in the series of election reform roundtable discussions. The meeting will include participation from senators or their representatives, election systems officials, and members of the Joint Board of Elections. They're going through Title 18 of the Virgin Islands Code to identify issues and concerns, including ambiguity and contradictions that have led to the negative impact on the election process. That meeting will take place from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Monday, September 14th at the VI Port Authority Conference Room at the airport on St. Croix. Well, Patriot Day ceremonies were held all across the nation today to honor those who were lost in the 9/11 tragedy. It's 14 years ago today that thousands of Americans were killed in coordinated terrorist attacks across the United States. Some of those lost were Virgin Islanders who were remembered in local ceremonies Friday. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
Firefighters and police stood side by side as VI National Guardsmen, Legionnaires, and members of the community marched in the annual Freedom Walk. They did it to remember the first responders and innocent victims killed in the tragic attacks against the U.S. on September 11th, 2001.
We're gathered here today in memorial of all those who lost their lives, whether as victims, casualties, or those who selflessly attempted to aid others.
The ceremony began with the symbolic noon striking of the 4 5s. Family members of the VI's 9/11 victims were pinned with corsages, the memory of their loved ones honored.
We must never forget the innocent victims of these horrific events. We must never forget the first responders who courageously risked their lives to save others.
And that was the recurring message, never forget. Veterans Affairs Director Patrick was disappointed with the turnout.
As I look around the room for something that significant, this event should have been held in a stadium filled to capacity. When you think of the significance that it had in the world, the attendance should be way larger. I would love if we could go back to September 12th, 2001. The reason I say that is because think back on September 12th, 2001. This world, this nation was so together at that time.
The Patriot Day ceremony ended with the laying of the wreath bell tolls and rifle squad salute and the playing of taps. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Patriot Day ceremonies were also held on St. Thomas and St. John earlier in the day. Well, Senator Kenneth Gittens also said he's concerned with complaints from his constituents about increasing property tax rates on St. John. According to Gittens, the rising rates, in spite of the properties having undergone no change in conditions at all, is becoming a significant hardship for residents.
The backs of property owners are up against the wall with seemingly nowhere to turn because they protest that even when they file appeals to the Board of Tax Review, they get not even as much as a notice of acknowledgement, and the issues languish over years with the expectation still there for them to pay the outlandish bills. We have residents who are being forced to give up their property that has been in their family for many years, for far below what it is worth.
Meanwhile, in police reports on Thursday, September 10th at 9:12 p.m., the 911 emergency call center received a report of shots having been fired in the vicinity of the Shanty in Campo Rico. Responding officers discovered a black Isuzu Rodeo with an unresponsive black male in the driver's seat. He had multiple gunshot wounds to his body. No signs of life were found. The victim's name will not be released until notification of the next of kin. You can call 911 if you have any information about this crime. The U.S. Coast Guard and Caribbean Border Interagency Group authorities interdicted a migrant vessel in the international waters last Friday, northeast of the Dominican Republic, with 1 Brazilian and 11 Dominican men on board. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Puerto Rico filed criminal charges against the Brazilian and 5 of the Dominicans for attempted illegal re-entry into the United States. They were on a 15-foot blue and wooden boat traveling from the Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico. Authorities also found packages that later tested positive for marijuana. Well, some WAPA customers in the Savannah and Solberg areas of St. Thomas experienced water interruptions on Thursday night and Friday morning as WAPA crews made repairs to the electrical system at the Savannah pump station. Customers in the areas of Geiling and Hill Street, Solberg and Annie's Fancy experienced the interruption until about 1 p.m. Friday. WAPA apologizes for the inconvenience the interruption caused its consumers. Well, keeping an eye on the economy, the stock market finished the abbreviated trading week on a higher note. Stocks began the day under modest pressure as noteworthy weakness in the energy sector fueled the opening retreat. The energy sector settled not far above its low, while the remaining groups fared much better and helped the market erase its early loss. And here's our New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. Everything up, the Dow 102, NASDAQ 26, S&P 8. Coming up on News 2, updates on Carnival Liberty, plus the remnants of what used to be Tropical Storm Grace makes landfall in the territory. According to Vitima, we'll have details. Welcome back. The VI's oldest living resident has died. Ursula Kruger, who is known to many as Aunt Sula, died on Thursday on St. Thomas at the age of 113. Aunt Sula was born Danish in 1902 and a longtime educator on St. Thomas. She was actually present at the very first transfer day when the territory changed hands from Denmark to the United States. The 30th legislature honored her last year when she turned 112 with ceremonies at the Otley Legislative Hall. She was the matriarch of the Kruger and Molinar families. Our condolences. Well, Carnival Liberty has finally left St. Thomas after being stranded for days due to a fire that broke out in its engine room. Here's the Liberty merely hours before it left the Waco dock. The Monday incident caused thousands of cruise ship passengers to be evacuated and for the cruise line to make arrangements to send them home. Passengers were shipped out throughout the week. By end of Thursday, only about 1,300 passengers remained on the ship, and they sailed with the vessel to San Juan, where further arrangements will be made for them. Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter advises the public that the St. Croix Passport Acceptance Facility will be closed on Tuesday, that's September 15th, next week, from 12 noon to 5 p.m. The passport facility will resume normal business hours from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily the following day, Wednesday, September 16th. The Office of the Lieutenant Governor apologizes for the inconvenience. For more information, you can contact the Passport Office on St. Croix at 773-6449 or 774-4024. Well, more than 30 Cancrine students have recently published just as many stories in a book, and it's called New Story Time. The undertaking was made possible by Project A, a company that was also built by another young Virgin Islander. Cancrine students got to go through summer workshops from story development to an exploration of gender roles and biases, and also got to see their stories illustrated by professional artists. Project A founder Chris Williams says he wants to expand the unique program to the larger Virgin Islands and hopefully the Caribbean.
The students loved it. They were given the opportunity to have their voices be heard. And now we have this book, and I think is something they'll be proud of. You see that change in their faces when they see something that they have created, when they see it in physical form. There is no greater feeling than having an idea in your head and being able to work at it and then finally see the product in your hand.
Congratulations. The St. Croix Jeep Club donated dozens of backpacks and hundreds of supplies Friday to students at Juanita Gardine, Alfredo Andrews, and Alexander Henderson schools. Organizers say they were able to get the supplies with help from members of the community through a drive that they held earlier. Their mission is to be a positive presence in the community and positive influence for the younger members.
We have everything from binders, folders, index cards, pencils, erasers, little hole punchers, dividers, everything that notebooks, oh my God, so many notebooks. But it was wonderful and overwhelming just to see that, the community all came together.
We want to educate the kids and we want to do a positive thing for the community. And our club, we are dedicated to do island clean out, assist VIPD, assist in anything we can to keep this community safe.
Many of our students from kindergarten through 6th grade in the elementary school, they're doing many project-based learning activities. And so we truly appreciate the St. Croix Jeep Association donating these supplies to our students.
We just want these kids to have an amazing school year and to be able to be everything that they can.
Well, if you're feeling the wind and some showers outside, that's because the remnants of what used to be Tropical Storm Grace is upon us. A large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms near the northern Leeward Islands is associated with Grace. According to VITEMA, the National Hurricane Center is monitoring 2 more systems, one off of the west coast of Africa and the other off of the Azores. Stick around, we'll have more on the weather with our NEWS2 AccuWeather forecast. That's coming up next.
This hurricane season